right, we're ready for our problem of the day. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up your problem like I have on the bottom portion. You don't have to write all of this on the top. I wrote that, so you don't have to worry about that. What I want you to do is set up your problem, write the word Cubs on the side, and we'll get started. So today's problem is this. Lily picks up 10 loose pencils and puts them in a cup. Violet has one package of 10 pencils and adds them to the cup. How many pencils are in the cup in all? So what we're going to do is we're going to first circle our numbers. And this is going to be a little tricky, so just bear with me and stay with me. Ready? So we're going to circle our numbers. I see the number 10. I see the number 1. But I also see the number 10 here. Okay? Don't do anything with it. Just let's work through this, okay? Now, I'm going to cross off my C. I need to underline an important word. I see actually 2 important words. Do you see them in the question? Yes, in all. So those are those words that I was telling you about the other day when we said we had some really important addition words and subtraction words. What does in all tell us? Yes, it tells us we're going to add them together. So all together, in all, how many do we have? So we're going to cross that out. Then we're going to box the question. Okay, cross off the B. Now we're going to solve it. But this is a tricky problem, so I want you to think about what we have. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is it says Lily had picked up 10 loose pencils and put them into a cup. So we're going to draw 10 loose pencils. Watch how I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw them kind of like in a 10 frame, but we're going to do this. Okay, so 5 on top, 5 on the bottom. And they're all loose, right? Now, we have Violet here who has one package of 10. Do I do anything with the number 1? No. No. All that's telling us is that she has a package that's not open, and inside that package are 10 pencils. So what that's basically telling us is that we have a group of 10. So let's think about what that says. So Lily finds pencils. So imagine I opened up a package of pencils. I opened it up and all of a sudden they went all over the place. So I picked up all these loose pencils and I have 10 of them now in my hand and I put them in a cup. They're all loose. But Violet has the group of pencils. So when we go to the store and we buy a package of pencils, they're in a pack. So she has that pack. She takes that pack, puts them in the cup. So the way we draw that pack is a 10 stick. Okay? So I'm going to draw my 10 stick here, just like this. So I know I have a 10 stick and I have 10 ones. I want to show you something. So this is what I have. I have 1 10, right? But over here I have 10 ones. Well, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? How do I do that? What do I do with that? And how do I know how many I have? Well, we could do this a couple different ways. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at this and say, okay, I've got 10 here, because I know a 10 stick is 10, and I have 10 here. I know 10 plus 10 equals 20. Would you agree? So I have 10 here plus 10 here. That gives me 20. I'm going to put the 20 here. Now, watch this. Can I have 10 ones here? The answer is no, I can't. I can have up to 9. But once I do that, once I have 10, I have to trade it in for a 10. So watch this. If you look at the number 10, how many ones do I actually have? I actually have 0 ones. So I'm going to leave that 0 there. But you see the 10 here? That 10 has to leave the ones and it's got to go over here to the 10s. So if I look at it now, what do I have? I have 1 10 plus 1 10. So I have 2 10s and 0 ones. So that gives me 20. I know I just blew your mind, didn't I? We're going to look at that in the next part. So just bear with me, okay? Now, let's come down here. We were looking to find how many pencils were in there. We know that Lily had 10 pencils. And we know that Violet had 10 pencils. And this one's pretty easy. We know 10 plus 10 is 20 because we know our doubles facts really well. Okay? Now, we're going to come over here. We know, again, our number sentence is going to be 10 from Lily plus 10 from Violet, and that gives us our 20. And I just want to show you this piece one more time, okay? So I'm going to create my tens and ones frame, but I'm going to make it a little bigger for you to see. So I know I had one stick of 10, and then I had 10 ones, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to trade in a 10 is what I'm going to do. So let's draw an arrow here, and I'm going to put a 10 in one frame here, okay? So if I said, oh, I don't want 10 ones anymore, I want to make that a stick of 10, I can actually cross off that stick of 10, or that 10 ones, and bring it over here so I have another 10. So now if I look at this, how many 10s do I have? Well, I've got one here, so I have two 10s. How many ones am I left with? I'm left with none. So I have 0. So my answer is 20. So there's two different ways you can do that. And stay tuned for part 2 because we're going to look at that even closer. Now, we have to answer the question, how many pencils are in the cup in all? We're going to say there are 20, and we're going to put a box around that, pencils. Put the 20 here, and then cross off the S, and that's your complete answer. It's going to start getting confusing, but if you stay organized and stay with me, I'll get you through it, I promise. Okay, here we are with part 2. What we're going to do is we're going to start looking at numbers a little differently again. And you have to keep in mind, when we're doing a tens and ones frame, generally we say you should have 9 or less in the ones. Once you get to 10, you have to start doing some trading. And that's what we're going to demonstrate here. So the first problem I have is 2 10s and 13 ones, okay? Now, what I want to do is fill in my tens and ones frame. I have 2 10s and I have 13 ones, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this 13 because that's what's glaring to me. I'm going, wait a minute, I can't have 13 there. I can only have 9 or less. So, what do I do? Well, the first thing you need to do is say to yourself, what is 13? Well, I know 13 is 10, 3. So if I was to draw it over here, 13, I would draw 10, 11, 12, 13. I draw 1 10 and 3 ones. So that alone should tell you what you need to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these 3 ones here because those are ones. But do you see this digit right here? That's a 10 stick. So I need to get rid of this 10 stick here and scoot it over here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over here and put it under the 2. So now I have 2 10s and one more 10, okay? So I'm going to draw a line here. So I want you to imagine there's like a pretend plus sign here. So 2 plus 1 is 3, and guess what? I still have my 3 ones, 33. Now let's check our answer to be sure we're right. Watch this. I drew 13 already. Now I need to draw 2 10s. Well, if I draw 1, 2 10s here, let's count it out together. 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33. Does it match? Absolutely it does. So if you just think about what you already know, you're absolutely going to be able to do this with no problem. Let's take a look at this one. Now I have 4 10s and I have 11 ones. So again, let's draw the picture and see what we can come up with. I'm going to draw the 11 because that's, again, what's drawing my attention. I look at that and go, whoa, time out. We can't have 11 ones. So what trade can we make? So I'm going to draw 11, a 10 stick and a 1. There's the 11, right? So I'm looking at it going, okay, what can stay in the ones? Well, obviously the ones can stay in the ones. It's the same. So we're going to keep this here, but we need to bring this one over here. And I want you to, again, remember there's like that plus sign there. So we have 4 plus 1, which is 5. And then I have to bring down my 1. So 51 should be my answer. But let's check it by drawing a picture. I already drew my 11. Now I've got to draw my 4 10s. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 10s. So let's see what I have. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51. and it matches. So when you see a lot of ones in the ones, so a 2-digit number in the ones, you have to stop yourself and say, something's not right and I need to do some trading. Okay, now we're ready for our lesson. So let's take a look at what we have here. And I just want to be clear as to how we handle the tens and ones when we have a 2-digit number in the ones, okay? So let's take a look. The first thing we're going to look at is 3 tens and 0 ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write here 3 tens and 0 ones. What number do we have? 30. So that one's pretty simple. And I'm going to draw this. 3 tens, 10, 20, 30, and no ones. So we have the number 30. You agree? Good. Now, let's take a look at this. We have 2 tens, so I'm going to make 2 tens and 10 ones. Now, all of a sudden, you should be saying, wait a minute, stop, 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 stop. I have too many in the ones column. So what I'm going to do is I need to do a trade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my ones here. So I know these are my tens and these are my ones. So I'm going to leave my ones here. You leave that here. This number here we've got to get rid of, and we've got to bring it over here. So we're going to pretend there's a plus sign there. So how many tens do I have now? Well, I have 3 tens. And how many ones do I have? I have 0. Did you notice? It's the number 30 again. But let's check it. I have 2 tens, 10, 20, and now I have 10 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What did you notice? Yes, I can make that into a 10 stick. So if I make that into a 10 stick, guess what? I've got 10, 20, 30 again. So again, it's a different way of showing 30. Let's look at this one. I have 1 10, and now I have 20 ones. Again, that alarm should be going off going, wait a minute, 2-digit number in the ones, 2-digit number in the ones. We can't have that. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at that 20 and say, okay, what digit stays? Well, your ones stay. Again, here are your ones. So that one stays. This one's got to go over to the tens. So I'm going to put my 2 over here. So I know I have 1 10 plus 2 more tens, which is 3 tens. And then I'm going to bring down my ones, which is 0. Guess what? 30 again. So let's just do it. I have this time 1 10, but watch what I have. I have 20 ones. There's 10, and then here's the other 10. So what do? Well, I know this is a 10 stick, and this is a 10 stick, so I have 10, 20, 30 again. So, still came up with 30. I'll bet you'll never guess what our last one's going to come up to. Let's look. This time I have 0 tens, but I have 30 ones. So what do? Well, I'm going to say, okay, this is the digit that's staying. 3 needs to get out of here and go over to where it belongs, which is in the tens. So now I have 0 tens plus 3 more tens. So 3 plus 0 or 0 plus 3 is 3. And again, I'm left with 0 ones. So in this case, if I drew, there's 10, 20, 30 ones, I could change those into 10 sticks. 10, 20, 30. So again, I have 30. So what I've just given you is 4 different ways to make 30. You're not always going to see it as 3 tens and 0 ones. You're not going to see it always like that. You have to know what you're looking at. And you also have to remember that you cannot have a 2-digit number in your ones. You're going to have to make some switches. Okay? So let's take a look at our homework for today, because it's going to possibly get a little tricky. Now, listen to me. We are skipping a lesson, so we're skipping a few pages in your workbook. We are going to be on page 84. So 84 and 85 is going to be your homework tonight. You're going to be skipping a couple of pages. So what they want you to do is they want you to fill in your tens and ones. And basically what they want you to do is come up with what number it is, and then so you have to match something from here to something from over here. But there's a little bit of work I want you to do to stay organized. So this is what I want you to do. Let me get a pen handy here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the tens and ones. I have 1, 2, 3 tens, and I have 4 ones. That's pretty normal, right? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to go down through and you're going to tell how many tens and how many ones you have. But then what you're going to do is next to each one of these, you're going to make a tiny tens and ones frame, because that's what's going to really tell you what number you're working with. So next to each one, you're going to write tens and ones. And then you can go ahead and match them up, but not until you do this. And if you don't do this, there's a chance you're going to get confused, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the one that I think it matches to, and I'll explain to you. So I want you to take a look at this guy here. So I have 2 tens. Oh, I'm sorry, it already gave it to us. 2 tens, so here's 10, 20, so 2 tens. How many ones do I have? Well, I have 5 here, and 5 here, and 4 here. Well, if I do this, that's like a 10 frame turned sideways. So I know that that's a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 14 ones. So I have 2 tens and 14 ones. So let's write that. 2 tens and 14 ones. Well, automatically you should be saying, stop, Mrs. Parsons, stop, because we can't have a 2-digit number in the ones. And you're absolutely right when you say that. So I need to fix this. This number's staying put, but remember, these are my tens. So the 110 needs to come over here. So if I add that up, I have 2 plus 1 is 3, and then I have to bring my 4 down. So my number that I'm working with here is 34. Does it look familiar here? 3 tens, 4 ones is 34. And then I can go ahead and draw my line to connect. So it's not as easy as it seems. You have to really look at them, and I really want you to write your tens and ones, because it's going to help you to change those numbers. Okay? So complete page 84. Now page 85 already did the tens and one frame for you. Okay? So now what you need to do is just write the number next to it. So for example, if I have 2 tens and 2 ones, I know my number is 22. If I have 3 tens and 6 ones, I know my number is 36. What about this one and this one though? You have to do something with those, don't you? So I want you to think about what we did on the previous page. Then what I want you to do is write the number next to it, and then go ahead and draw your lines to match. So you're going to be completing pages 84 and 85. Make sure that your parents send in a picture. And if you have any problems, please reach out to us and let us know. Otherwise, we'll be waiting to see the pictures of your work, and we'll go on tomorrow.